Inside throw, touchdown! And the Chiefs Kingdom, champions of Super Bowl 58 on the heels of Super Bowl 57.
The Chiefs looking to get back on track, and with the 9th pick in my mock draft, the Chiefs shore up their backfield hole by taking the electric, dynamic, unique Notre Dame star running back, Jeremiyah Love. He was the Doak Walker winner this past year as the best running back in the FBS. The Chiefs need to clear, by the way, a lot of money this offseason just to get under the salary cap, but they also need to find a way to shore up the backfield. $61.8 million is how much the Chiefs are over the salary cap as of right now. With a couple of pen swipes, they will get back on track. But Love would help replenish a backfield that has free agents to be in Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, but candidly, neither one of those guys is anything close to a difference maker. Of course, the biggest storyline for KC this offseason will be the health and the continued rehab for quarterback Patrick Mahomes. All right, Mel, one of your very first football NFL draft axioms was being careful about when you're drafting running backs. Recently, you've been against taking running backs in the first round. However, Jeremiyah Love is the number 2 player on your big board. Why is he the exception to the rule here for Kansas City?
How many times I've screamed this? You grade on ability, not philosophy. And for me, he's the second best player in this draft. Jeremiyah Love is more just a running back. You put him in a slot. He can catch the football. He's explosive. 14 runs of 34 or more yards over the last 2 years at Notre Dame, in addition to 63 career receptions coming out of that backfield. This is a dynamic football player who had 433 carries at Notre Dame, averaged 6-7 a carry. 433 carries, Lou, 63 receptions out of the backfield. And guess what, Louis Riddick? 0 fumbles lost over those 3 years at Notre Dame. That's why if he gets down to New Orleans or Kansas City, I'm going to applaud the pick, Lou, because he's more than just a running back.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm glad that you're kind of on board this year. That this is an exception, and I don't think there's any question. I think Brett Veach, the general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs, he understands this. He understands he has to get Patrick some help. The statistics just bear it out. They have not had a difference maker at running back since Patrick has been there, and all during Andy's time when he was in Philadelphia, he had some good running backs. Look, he had Brian Westbrook, and then he had Shady McCoy. And just let me tell you this, I'll let you in on a little bit something. Brett Veach is very good at scouting running backs. I know people are going to bang on him for a lot of different reasons as far as some of the reasons why maybe this team fell short this year. But he was the one in Philadelphia who stood on the table for LaShawn McCoy, personally. And I promise you, and I am with you as far as the evaluation on Jeremiyah Love. As a former safety, I would have wanted no parts of this guy. He is a true slasher, a hammer with home run speed, with route running ability and hands that are like a wide receiver. That's right up Andy Reid's alley. That's exactly what they need to take this team to the next level offensively. And I know that Brett is looking at this and probably sitting there going, please let him fall to me. Please let him come down to me.
I want to know who replaced the real Mel Kiper with this imposter, because the real Mel Kiper would never, ever advocate for a team to draft a running back in the top 10. I love Jeremiyah Love. He's my number 1 overall player in this class.
Wow.
But unless he's going to line up off the edge and go get somebody on this Chiefs defense, this cannot be the pick. A running back. Yes, it's a need. Their running backs were terrible last year, but the defensive line, Chris Jones is getting older. He could be on the trade market this season. George Karlaftis got the extension, hasn't shown up since. Who's the difference maker on this defense? Trent McDuffie could also be traded at corner. Jermad McCoy is sitting there from Tennessee. Ruben Bain from Miami is still on the board. As much as I love what Jeremiyah Love would bring to this offense, the balance would be there, absolutely. Breece Hall's a free agent. Ken Walker's a free agent. There are guys, Rico Dowdle's a free agent. Round 2 running backs, like his backup, Jadarian Price at Notre Dame. Spinning a running back at number 9 overall, drafting a running back this high when your defense was trash last year, this cannot be the move for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Matt. I'll tell you what, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they don't want to be picking 9, they want to be picking 32, right? You got Patrick Mahomes, the great Patrick Mahomes, and now you got that missing link, that running back spot, you put him out in the slot. Like I say, this is more than a running back, okay? This is a guy, Bijan Robinson was graded very high. I didn't have low grades on any of these running backs. They were all graded high, and look what they've done. This is the team we say, hey, if you're rebuilding, don't take the running back. Chiefs aren't rebuilding. They want to get back to where the top spot was and pick at 31 or 32.
Yeah, remember there was a time when the Detroit Lions were on the clock when they picked Jahmyr Gibbs number 1. in the first round, that they were devoid of talent on the defensive line as well, and they couldn't rush the passer. Heck, because many teams, people still feel like they can't rush the passer well enough in order to get them over the hump. Jahmyr Gibbs has been nothing short of an MVP caliber player. That is exactly what Jeremiyah Love is. That's exactly, to me, what they need. Look, I understand that their pass rush on the defensive line leaves a lot to be desired. It does. They need help for Patrick Mahomes. He cannot be their primary ball carrier. He cannot be their primary weapon as far as the running game is concerned, which is exactly what he is right now. If you do that, he's going to be one of those guys who will start having that conversation of, did they waste the second half of Patrick Mahomes' career because he had no one to turn around and give the ball to? Better give him a difference maker.
Yeah, the irony of this conversation, it's my mock draft, and yet I'm dubious that Jeremiyah Love will even make it to pick number 9 once teams that are picking ahead of Kansas City fill out some of those needs during free agency. Let's get to picks 10 through 15, where things get rolling with Reuben Bain Jr. going to the Bengals at number 10, Mansour Delane going to the Dolphins at 11. Sonny Styles goes to the Cowboys at number 12. Styles is a former safety at Ohio State who has successfully transitioned to linebacker and become an absolute thumper. No surprise, given the fact he was previously a safety, that he has terrific range. He's got a quick trigger in the running game. He's got instincts galore. And 2 seasons ago, 2024, when he was used as a blitzer more often, he had 6 sacks, one of the most Swiss Army knife players in the entire draft class. Lots of draft capital. My pick for the Jets in this case is perhaps the most versatile defensive player. Lewis has already mentioned him once. It's Ohio State edge rusher, linebacker, probably could play safety if you needed him to, Arvell Reese. He had a breakout season this past year. Plenty of needs for this Jets roster, though, Matt. And does this move make sense for Aaron Glenn and this Jets franchise that right now kind of needs any number of foundational pieces?
It makes sense because there's not a quarterback here. Yes, you would love for the Jets to draft a quarterback, and fans are going to be yelling at us for 3 months, get a quarterback, get a quarterback. We can't create a player and put him on the big board to draft here. There's not a quarterback worth this spot. So what are you left with? I think this is where you look for a player that has unique, game-changing, transcendent talents. And when I watch Arvell Reese, I see a player, you're going to get some comparisons to Micah Parsons coming out of Penn State. You're going to get comparisons to Abdul Carter coming out of Penn State because he can and has played stack linebacker. But when he gets coming off the edge, when you see that speed and the rare tools with the hand usage, the shoulder dip, the way he accelerates around the corner, that's what excites me about Reese as a player. And listen, the Jets, they drafted an older player in Jermaine Johnson. Hasn't exactly panned out. Will McDonald, first-round pick, hasn't exactly panned out. They need that difference maker off the edge while they wait to hopefully find their quarterback, and that might be 2027 when they have 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, look, this pick is more than just about traits. This is about a guy who is a foundational player, a true culture driver. Okay, so the guy who I think about who really was that kind of player is, remember when Will Anderson was picked by the Houston Texans and what he did for that organization and the kind of message that he took from D'Amico Ryans into the locker room, onto the football field. And anytime you sit down and talk to a guy like Will Anderson, you understand why Houston was able to turn it around. So I think in this position right now that the Jets find themselves in, yeah, of course you're going to try and find a guy in an impact position who has impact unique traits. But you have got to dig deep into the kind of player that this guy is and the kind of leader that he is, because the Jets are not just devoid of talent. They're devoid of guys who understand how to win and how to bring other people along with them. So you better nail that as well as you nail the actual physical traits.
Lou, no question about it. Arvell Reese with a dynamic talent, but not the sack artist that David Bailey was at Texas Tech. And David Bailey came from Stanford, where he was a really good player, became a great player, unblockable player with the Red Raiders. So while Arvell Reese, we know what a talent he is, the potential he has coming off the edge, Bailey showed that week in and week out. Talking about Mendoza's consistency, Bailey was equally as consistent on the defensive side, getting after the quarterback. Nobody could slow him down. So he is a talented edge rusher, a proven edge rusher that's going to be in the discussion early in this draft for several teams, starting with the New York Jets at pick number 2.
Yeah, I think the reality, Mel, is when you're talking about these two players, I don't think you're going to poll 32 teams and get a consensus between which is the better edge rusher. It may come down to scheme fit and how the Jets want to play defense this upcoming year. Keep in mind, the Jets did turn over both their offensive and defensive coordinators this offseason. Lewis, I'll go back to you. As far as the Jets and the bigger picture here, you were talking about a team that, as you noted, has a lot of work ahead. Philosophically, is there a way that you approach a rebuild of this magnitude, knowing that over the next 2 drafts, you have 5 first-round picks, which is incredibly rare in the NFL?
Yeah, look, I think philosophically, look, Field, you're looking to really address those top 5 positions to me, whether that be quarterback, DE, pass rusher, wide receiver, offensive tackle. Those are the positions that, quite honestly, you have to make sure that you nail. Those are the positions that with those picks, you're trying to get in position to get the kind of guys who are difference makers. Now, obviously, as we've already talked about, you would like for it to be a quarterback number 1 first and foremost, but you can't create a guy. You can't force a pick. And in this draft, it's just not going to work out that way. But I think those other positions, when you're talking about pass rusher, when you're talking about offensive lineman, when you're talking about another wide receiver, when you're talking about cornerback, guys who are true difference makers, those are the positions that those draft picks need to be earmarked for. And again, you can't just get enamored with physical traits. These have to be true. And I mean true culture drivers. The teams that have nailed it are the ones who then actually flip it around. If you just get too enamored with height, weight, speed, arm length, 40-time vertical jump, you're going to miss the boat. And you can't afford to miss the boat. The Jets have done that plenty. They need to get out of the business of doing that.
Yeah, what do we talk about all the time, Luke? Draft good football players. That's what the Jets need to do. If they keep all these picks, draft good football players. Don't get cute. This isn't the time to start reaching for players because of measurables. You need starters. When you're this bad, when you have this many picks, you have a roster that needs starters. So like Lou said, hone in on those top 5 premium positions. And I do think you look at 2027 with those 3 ones and say, that might be the time to get our quarterback. Let's build the infrastructure this year. Let's get that premier pass rusher. Let's get a corner. Maybe we add another wide receiver in the second round, build the foundation so that when that quarterback comes in, the table's already set for them. I think that's the way you have to attack this philosophically. Instead of getting cute, just because you have picks doesn't mean you have to burn them to trade up for players that maybe don't meet the value of where the Jets are at.
Long way to go, but the Jets have pick number 2, they have pick number 16, and next year they have their own first-round pick, the Dallas Cowboys first-round pick, and the Indianapolis Colts first-round pick. Picks 22 through 32 include some big boys up front. That includes Vega Ione from Penn State, who goes 22 to the Chargers. Mac Ioannidis from Arizona State goes number 23 to Philadelphia. And we look at the final 6 picks of the draft. 5 picks, I'm not great at math. They include Caden Proctor, Colton Hood, Kenyon Sadiq going to the Broncos at number 30. So the last 11 picks are all playoff teams. Some might be good fits. Some we might think need to wait and see. But, Matt, you think the Broncos might have gotten that last missing piece for Sean Payton and that Bo Nix offense in the form of Kenyon Sadiq?
Yeah, we heard Sean Payton talk about it all offseason last year. He needs his joker. He needs that pass catcher. They went and got Evan Ingram. Didn't have quite the year that I think a lot of people expected, but Kenyon Sadiq would be that player for them. Now, yes, there's some drops on tape. That's why he's available this late in round 1. There's also times where he's absolutely winning with leverage. He's winning with route running ability. He can still high point despite not being the biggest player. So I think Kenyon Sadiq for the Broncos could be that seam beater, that option in the red zone that they've been missing this year in that Broncos offense, guys.
Yeah, I think at number 25, when you're talking about the Chicago Bears in need of a pass rusher, look, I think Zion Young from Missouri is just perfect for them. We know that they need more help up front. Their defense overall were masters at taking the football away. And Zion Young would be one of those guys. I think here we're showing some highlights here of Peter Woods as well. But there's Zion Young. There he is. Let me tell you, this guy, when we saw him down at the Senior Bowl field, he was an absolute monster. And he's a monster on all 3 downs. He enjoys first and second down, earning the right to rush the passer on third down as much as anything. He's got power. He's got long arms. He's got a motor. He has got tremendous stamina. And he played high level in the toughest conference in college football, or arguably the toughest conference in college football. But Zion Young is for real. I think that'd be great value for the Bears down at 25.
Yeah, he really helped his cause down there in Mobile. Damon Wilson, his teammate, at least last year at Missouri, was a name that certainly had a lot of steam during the pre-draft process. He decides instead to transfer. He's now going to play for Miami. But Zion Young, not to be overlooked in that Missouri defense. Mel, is there anybody that stood out to you during those last few picks that I made there in the mock draft? Which you gave an A-, by the way, grade-wise.
3 players I was looking for I didn't see in the mock first round. That was C.J. Allen, linebacker, Georgia off-ball linebacker, 3-down linebacker, great character, great production. Avion Terrell had 8 forced fumbles over the last 2 years, 19 pass breakups, did a great job for the Clemson Tigers. And Caden McDonald, immovable defensive tackle who got into the backfield, was disruptive, makes plays down the line, hustles, heck of a football player. Those 3 guys, I believe, go in the first round. A little surprise, Field, you didn't have them there, but we'll see how it goes as we move forward through this process.
Yeah, full disclosure here, Mel, this is not to take myself off the hook, but there were probably 35 or 40 names that I considered at some point to make their way into the first round. That is what the next 71 days are for. And by the way, it's not just guys that are going to go in the first round. All 7 rounds will be covered here as we are off and running on NFL Draft Daily. For Mel, Matt, and Lewis, I am Field. We're back tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the ESPN app.